Hello, students. So here are just a couple of very simple common problems and solutions in Python for exercise purposes because any experienced Python programmer shouldn't have issues with these programs. Maybe if you haven't done it for a while, you may encounter a couple of bugs, but I think if you have enough experience, you should be able to actually resolve them quite quickly. So what do we have here, right? It's, it's, it's interesting. You know that there are some functions in Python such as min and max to find the smallest value in a string or the largest value. But what happens if we cannot use this function? So what exactly is inside this function and how does it actually run? So that's the little exercise that we have. So to kickstart, we have a list of global variables, a num list, which is a list of numbers, a name list, which is a list of names, and the SST corpus, right? Do no harm to yourself, do no harm to others, and do no harm to the school. So that will help us. Oh yeah, I still got the continue. The red, the blue, the gray, and you. That's part of the school cheer. So actually just a couple of simple strings and list of numbers to help us to test out our program. So to begin, the first one is actually to find the minimum value in a list without using the minimum function. So how do we do that? Well, I just create a simple user-defined function called get minimum, sure, get min, and I'm going to begin by using a variable called minimum, and just take the first value in the list, right? That will find. Then after I just go down the list and compare. So for each value inside the list, with the exception of the first one, which is why my starting index here is 1 instead of 0, so that I go down the entire list starting from the second value, because the first one is already taken, right? And we compare, is the value being evaluated right now less than the minimum? If it is, then replace the minimum with the current value. Otherwise, just continue, right? So after one pass through the entire list, the variable minimum should hold the smallest value inside this list, and then I return it and I test it. And yes, the correct solution is there. So in the list, num list, the smallest value actually -2. We got that, right? So first exercise. Now, the next one asks you to find the maximum. As you can expect, maximum should work the same way. But this time round, instead of testing whether it is lesser than to replace, we test whether it is greater than to replace. So you can see here, get max. So this time round, I have a variable called maximum. Again, take the first item inside the list and just call it maximum. Then after that, I go down the list. Again, I can just start from the second value inside. So if the value is larger than maximum, well, it becomes the new maximum, right? Otherwise, you just continue. When I'm done, I just return the maximum, and that should be fine. So the largest value inside the list is 45. That's the correct result, right? Now the next little exercise is to find the total. So use the total without using the sum um, function, right? So I can just very quickly call get sum. Then after that, a little variable, park it to 0. I just call the variable sum. You can give it another name if you are uncomfortable with using a keyword like this, right? So for value inside the list, so I'm going down again, each value inside the list, I just add it to sum. So it just keep adding up. So when I'm done, I return sum. That should give me the total. So when I add up the total, it's 134. The value is correct, right? Next one. Next one, they want us to find the average. Well, we know that the average is going to be the sum, right? So again, very quickly, get average. Again, I get the sum, divide by the length, right? Because it's the sum divided by the number of elements inside the list. So the length will actually return the number of elements inside the list. So I have the sum here, divided by the element in the list. However, this particular exercise have a requirement. It wants us to return it rounded to 2 decimal places. So I just use a round function, and that will give me the 2 decimal places, right? And then the next one, right? Now the next one is a little bit more interesting. What's happening here is we have a list, and then we have the values inside. We use the value. We try to find the location inside the value. So basically, what happened is if I have a list, using the index function will return the index. But if we cannot use the index, what do we do? Well, okay, I'm going to again create a function called get location of the of name, right? And then I'm going to have a empty list called indices where I'm going to collect, because what happened is down here there's a special instruction, right? Because what happened is if I were just to search through and then I hit once, I will get returned the first instant of the value. However, if I want more than that, right? I want more than that, what do I do? So if I want more than that, I want every single position that this particular instance happened, I will do this. I will create a little list to collect them and then I return the list instead. So for each item inside the so by this time round, I make use of index because I want to collect the index. So in this case, instead of item inside the list, I have I in the range of the length of the list. So by doing that, my I is now the index rather than the item. So it depends on what we want, right? If we want the index, we use I here. If we want the item, we can just put for item in the list, right? So check whether the item with this index is the item that we are looking for. If it matches, then I append it. If it doesn't match, I'll just continue searching, right? So I'll go down the entire list, I'll keep appending, and then I'll return the indices, the entire list. So that is the thing. Now, so what happened is locations, I just call the function, it is fine. However, I have a little if statement over here. Why? Because I'm trying to answer this question. When the search name is not found, it will cause a runtime error. And that's exactly what happened, right? How do I prevent that? We can just do a quick search of the length, quick comparison of the length of the locations, right? So if I compare it and if the length is 0, it means that the value is actually not found. The search name is actually not found inside the list. That's why the length is value. Then I just say it's not found. Just print it out. Otherwise, else, okay, I just print out all the locations. So in this case, I enter the name Aletta. Aletta is actually found in 3 positions inside the name list, 0, 5, and 9. Okay, right. Next one, this time around, instead of the list, we compare to the string. Interesting. Whether it's string or list, when we are running through, the entire process is very, very similar. In fact, it's almost the same, right? Uh, but of course, if we were to use the method, right, the method is slightly different. In this case, we can use the find method rather than the index method. Index is the method to actually, it's a method of a list, whereas find is a method for the string. But the process, if you want to go into the details, right, and the gears and how it really works, is the same. So again, get location of characters, ch short form of character. I create a characters, okay, an empty one to collect because I may want to collect more than one position, right? So again, this time round, I'm looking at the index because I want the index, so I use for I in the range of the length of this, right? And it matches if with what I'm searching for. Okay, I append it into this list of CHS, which characters, right? So after I return it, and again, same scenario here, right? Oops, okay, got beta there. Right. So what I do here is a same thing. I check whether the length of the locations is 0, because if it's 0 means it doesn't appear in the string. That character doesn't appear in the string. Otherwise, I'll just print out the whole thing. So it's the same process. Okay. So I search for the letter A inside the SSD corpus and it appear 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times at these locations. Okay. Right, next one. The next exercise is a simple one to display all odd values in the number list. So to get the odd values, all I need to do again, I create a temporarily the list called odds, right? And then I just quick check, right, whether the value when divided by 2, okay, more 2, whether it gives me a remainder of 1. Because if you give me a remainder of 1, then yeah, it is odd. Okay. I don't like this alignment. I prefer 2 space, but personal preference, right? Sometimes type very fast, this happens, right? So you get this, you append it, you return it, and then we have the list of the odd numbers. In this case, it's 13, 35, 7, 45, right? Then the next exercise, the others do create a new string made of the first 2 characters of every element. So again, this time round, I create the string of first 2 characters. I start with an empty string, so I just declare empty string. Then for each item inside this list, this time round, I don't need the index. I want the actual item, the actual element, right? So I pull out the element, and I want the first 2 characters. So this is how I slice it to get the first 2 characters and just keep adding it to the string. After that, I return it, and this is what I have, right? So all good. Okay. Next one. splitting a string into a list based on a given delimiter without using the split method. So let's not use the split method. So what we have here is we have my text. I can enter some text and then I choose my delimiter. And what happened is in my actual function over here, I have a splits. Okay, this is just my own short form for splits. So splits, it's an empty list. So I collect all the split words, and then start of next word call it 0 because I have the whole string now, right? So I break out the string into words. So the beginning of each word is the first one starts with 0. Later on, I will change it as I collect word by word, right? And then after that, I have the list. Okay, the list here, I'm going to start adding the delimiter, right? So after that, what happened? Okay, for each, um, I'm going to get the index. Why I need the index? Because I'm going to slice, right? If I slice, I need the index. I don't want the whole word. So I use I here for I in the range of the length of list. Okay, so if, excuse me, if, okay, the element, I go down the character, okay, if it matches the delimiter, okay, uh, what happened? Okay, now this brings me to this one now. Okay, just now I realized I didn't explain this. I add a delimiter at the very end of the entire string because I'm check until I reach the delimiter, I stop. So if I don't add the delimiter at the very end of the string, then this check it won't stop, right? It won't collect the last word. Right? I need to collect the last word by recognizing the very last delimiter. So I add a delimiter at the very end so that I can collect the very last word. Yeah, I realized I didn't explain that. Okay, moving on. So that's what this line is for, right? So I go down. If it matches the delimiter, okay, I add the word, okay, and start, and the slicing will start from the start of the next word, right? That I want, and it will end at this I. So just before the I. I is the position of the delimiter. So I collect it, append it to my SPS. Then I adjust the start of the next word to be the index after the delimiter. So I is the delimiter. So the next one, the next character after the delimiter, that'll be the start of the next word. So I keep repeating until the whole list is gone, is done. So I'll return it. Then, and after that I try, right? Computer plus. I should put computing plus. Maybe I can run it again, right? Let's try. Maybe I go ah computing. Maybe I put plus plus is plus cool, right? And then the delimiter is a plus, and we see that. There we go. Okay, computing plus is cool, right? Okay, next one. Okay, joining a list into a string based on a given separator without using the join. So what happened over here? Okay, it start by having a empty list, my list to populate my list. That's fine. Delimiter I'm going to choose because I'm going to have a list, and then in between each word, okay, I'm going to add in this delimiter. So what I do, I join list. Okay, so I have the list coming in. Okay, I create a join list. I pop out the first one, first word, first item inside the list. I put it into the first join list, right? Then after that, okay, I run down for each word inside the list. Now I can safely use the list here now because the first word has already been popped out. The first item has been popped out, so that is fine, right? So for each one now, I will join the delimiter and then I will join the word. So I just add in. Then I repeat until the very last word is collected and added to the string. Return the join list, and there we go. Okay. Um, Let me think. Okay, what's actually written is a string, not a list. Maybe if I want to improve my naming convention, I will probably uh, call this a string. So let me just change it to string, right? Okay. Yeah. I mean, I just did this a couple of minutes before I start recording this video. Then, of course, when you look back at your code, which you should every time you finish, see if you can improve the naming convention. That will help. So if I improve my naming convention, because if I know that there are other audiences who are going to, right, who are going to read my code, it's good to have standard convention. Right, get join list. So I should change the signature as well. Okay, join list. Right, this should be fine. Okay, so if I run this, okay, what's the separator now? Well, what do we want? Let's see. Is this? That'll be good. Let's try. There we go. Computer science is no more about computers, then astronomy is about telescopes. Well, I hope that helps. As usual, this video is recorded to help you if you're stuck, and of course, for those who have already done it, to check whether you've done it correctly, right? Hope you're successful. Have a nice day.